Good morning. This is Seth Moore again coming to you from Anchor by Spotify. We're going to be talking about some things today that, we have actually been discussing before. So we're going to continue to pick up on some of the same issues and series that we've been talking about. Actually, I've been doing a series on Brits. And it's funny now that I've been talking about Brits. All of a sudden now, you have so many people talking about Brits now. Obviously, I don't have a monopoly on information that's readily available in the media, and so forth and so on. But it's just really strange that since I've been talking about Brits for the last month or so, actually over a month now, I'm seeing all of these people now talking about Brits, that I haven't seen before because I'm on different social media sites. And now all of a sudden, everybody's jumping on the bandwagon because it's relevant news. Excuse me. But also I want to mention that people are suppressing information because they don't want it to get out, because you're actually telling, news that's relevant and news that matters, and they don't want this news to get out. And obviously, you have these different podcast sites who are regulating, the information that gets out, and a lot of it's hitting home, and so it's But what I intend to do. Is I'm going to be going to another medium, and so this information can get out, and they're not going to obviously use my information if they want to suppress it. Now let's look at some things, and what we have to realize too is that the country now is knee deep in debt. China selling off billions of dollars of U.S. debt. So is Japan. And so now the crisis that we're dealing with in the U.S. and around the world, particularly the U.S., they have until June to upgrade the debt ceiling as to their borrowing from the Federal Reserve. And if not, they're going to default on their debt. And what does that mean? Because China is selling off debt. Japan is selling off debt because China holds like over $1 trillion worth of U.S. debt, bonds and treasuries. So what does that mean? What it means is that now that the U.S. When they receive these bonds or treasuries back, they can't sell them for what they're worth. So it means that it weakens the dollar. That's what happens. It's going to weaken the dollar. But we want to give you some things, and you can actually see what's actually going on. And as I mentioned in many other podcasts before, we're in a situation now where you have Brits, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, with many other nations coming on, such as Iran. The dagger in the heart is going to be the Arab Emirate nations, such as Saudi Arabia, because they do business with the U.S., and the U.S. has been doing business with them, with the petrodollar, for over 50 years. So they hold a lot of the U.S. debt as well. And so with them coming on to Brits, and Iran and Argentina, and who else do we got coming on? We have many other countries that are going to come on, as I mentioned before. Venezuela, a lot of them I can't remember, but there's several nations. Turkey's another one, and all of these nations that are coming on to form the Brits East is it's going to be very, very, very competitive with the West. They're not like NATO, but they're going to be holding, as far as the GDP between all these different nations, something of excess of over $16 trillion, 16 to $24 trillion. So it's going to be very, very, very volatile for the U.S. and the other European countries, as we already know, because the European countries, as mentioned several times before, are becoming more and more energy depleted. Okay, where everybody's running towards the continent now because they need energy resources. Okay, and Africa is turning them away for the most part. Because of the history. Now, all of this debt that the U.S. has incurred with the way they've been, just, just so, how can I put it? And there's only really one way to put it. It's just, there's really been no oversight in how they spend. They've just been printing money and printing money and printing money. And so now they're in a situation where they can't pay off the debt. Okay? And so now they have to raise the debt ceiling. Okay? And they have until June, and they're talking about chances are the government is going to close down. The economy is already in a recession, but it's going to get worse because the results of that is going to weaken the European nations, okay, because they're dependent and have been on the U.S. dollar, okay, and the strength of the U.S. dollar. So right now, the U.S. debt, national debt, is $31,518,148,9, and it's rolling. So you understand what I'm saying? So you talking about 31,518,149,000,149, and it's like I said, it's changing all the time. Okay, and so the debt per citizen is like 94,264. Okay, and the debt per taxpayer is 246,867. So this is what the average citizen is going to be responsible for. Now, when we're talking about the U.S. federal spending official, it's something like 6 trillion, 320, 867, and it's changing all the time. And then we have the U.S. federal budget deficit official, 1 trillion, 399 billion, 717, and that's changing all the time. Okay? And then we have largest budget items, 1,520,868,000,000, and that's changing. Social Security is 252,349,000,000. You know what I'm saying? And then we have defense spending. Defense on war, 776 billion. See how much money we spend on defense, and see, so excuse me. And so what is happening is the United States has been so busy in a war posture, thinking somebody's going to try to do. So we were overspending on defense. Why? Because we're afraid that somebody's going to attack us because we've been all around the world policing and bullying everybody else. So we have to make sure the defense is up, okay? And so we're scared as hell. So this is why we spend so much money on defense. And then we have interest on the debt net. It's 529,528,000,000, and that's changing all the time. And then you're looking at the U.S. total interest paid. We've only paid the interest, total interest paid. We've only paid 665 billion 929, and that's going up. So that's all we paid on the interest. Out of 31 trillion, we've only paid 3 trillion. Okay? And so the interest is constantly going up. And the interest per adult is 14,171. And then you got the US total debt. This is the US total debt. This shit is crazy. The US total debt is 93. I'm going to make sure I'm reading this right. 93 trillion 925 billion. That's the US total debt. How are we going to get out of that? We're not. And then the savings per family, listen to this. The savings per family is only $4,901. And you got bank interest received 567 billion 465, and that's changing all the time. And student loan debt. Look at this. Student loan debt. And the clock is constantly ticking. We got student loan debt of 1,776,545,000,000. Okay, that's what the student loan debt is. Per student is 39,646. Credit card debt is 1,218,000,000,000. Listen to this. Credit card debt in this country is 1,218,619,000,000. Excuse me. So you got 1,218,619,000,000. That's credit card debt. And per holder, credit card debt per holder is over $7,000 in debt. Each person that has a credit card owes at least $7,000, a little over $7,000, $7,382 in debt on their credit cards. And U.S. Treasury dollars is 840 billion, 534 million. Okay, and so the list goes on and on. I can go on and on and on. I can go on and on and on with these numbers that are before me, So it goes to show us what we are in this country. Okay, and it says household assets in this country. The average household assets that's withholding around the country is like 142 billion 758 million. Okay, that's the assets that are held, household assets with equity, so forth and so on. That's around the country. So then we have U.S. total national assets is 180 billion 082 million billion, and it goes on. Okay, and assets per citizen is like $538. Wow, it's just crazy. And then it talks about, as I mentioned, Social Security. Social Security liability, 22 billion point 436 million, goes on and on and on and on. And the U.S. population is over 334 million people in this country. Okay, and so this is what we're dealing with. This is what we're dealing with, y'all. And just 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 total recklessness and unaccountability in how we do things. And so the U.S. has itself in a situation, where, you know, um, they're just, they're just, there's no regulations, and there's little oversight in terms of how we do things. And so we find ourselves in this situation, you know, we find ourselves in this situation. So what's going to be the results of that? The results of that is going to be a collapsed economy. Okay. I pray that, you know, that those of you who have an opportunity, just gird up yourself and do what you need to do. Is there an opportunity for people to invest? Of course there is, because if this turns around, it's going to make a lot of millionaires. Okay, but first what has to happen is they have to get control of this debt. Number one, they're going to raise the debt ceiling. Okay, and so what's that going to mean? It means that they're going to print more money. Okay, and how many times has the debt ceiling been raised within the last 50 years? They said the debt ceiling in the last 50 years has been raised like 80 times. Okay, so it's been done before. And so, but there's really, a lot of unaccountability in a lot of different sectors and different areas as to why this spending has gotten out of control. Now you're finding all these countries who are selling off their debt. You know what I'm saying? And then, you just look at what the U.S. has done. You're letting all these other people in this country, particularly these Ukrainian people, who are collecting Social Security and all this other stuff, while you have debt out of control. But yet you're bringing other people in the country and giving them free damn money, putting them on a welfare system. You understand what I'm saying? And then you're denying the people who've been here, who've been working, veterans in the street, homeless, and you don't give them anything. But you bring other people in the country and give them their money. And so this is why this economy is in such a wreck. It's in a wreck because there has not been fairness. There has not been fairness. Okay, you've denied the people who built the country. You got soldiers in the street who are homeless, and it's just terrible. It's terrible. And now you're in a situation, now the very people who you've exploited and you've done wrong, now you're running back to them saying, save me, help me out, help me out. We just had Janet Yellen, she's in Africa, visit 3 African countries with the ambassador of the U.S. who went with her and several other people. Okay, now you're going into the continent, the very people, as I mentioned, who you've exploited, who you've murdered, who you've killed, who you've done all types of atrocities to. Now you're going to them saying, we need you, we want to do business with you. And you're not going there to be a partner. You're not going there to be a partner because that's not how you operate. You want to take advantage again. And they're saying, no, we're not dealing with you like that. And I'm glad that they're doing that, because it's the same continent that has kept you afloat. It's the same continent that has made these European nations rich. And it's you know what? The funny thing about this is it's just so ironic. And it proves all the time. It proves all the time without the continent, you wouldn't have been anything anyway. All of these nations, all of these European nations that have built their wealth, they have built their wealth off the continent. And if you didn't need the continent, you would not be where you are today. Okay. And so now you're going back to the same people who resuscitated you out of poverty, who made your nations great. Hello, somebody. And now you're going back saying, help me, help me, help me. And they're saying, no, we're not going to help you like that. If we can't have an amicable relationship where we're partners, we're not going to deal with you. And now, South Africa is getting ready next month, where Russia and China is doing drills, military drills in South Africa. Okay, so why is this? Because, number one, China has been there for Africa when it was going through apartheid. So they have a relationship. They have, similarly, they have the same type of history with the U.S. Not exactly the same, but they do know how the U.S. operates. They've been under the U.S.'s tyranny as well. And a lot of these nations have. And so now South Africa has protection, and let me also mention this too, for those who don't know. South Africa, they make their own weapons. As a matter of fact, South Africa, over 50 years ago or more, they had a nuclear weapon, but they dismantled it because number one, I don't think they thought at the time, at some point they were going to need it. But they did have a nuclear weapon, y'all, unbeknownst to probably a lot of people, okay? But they dismantled it after the Cold War and so forth and so on, and so, but this is the thing. A lot of these nations are going through hard turmoil now. They have not seen the worst of it yet because Europe is getting ready to go through a cold winter and they don't have the energy to suffice themselves. And that's why they're running all around the world, particularly to the continent, saying, help us out, help us out. The same people now, think about it. The same people who've done all this murder, exploitation, and so forth, help us out now. Really? Okay, so anyways, so this is what's going on. And the U.S. is on the clock now in terms of how they're going to masterfully raise the debt ceiling or how they're going to try to finagle their way out of this. And there's really actually no way for them to do it because it's not a win-win. Okay, it's not a win-win at all. So, I mean, those of us who are in the U.S., we might as well buckle up because we're going through a recession. And, and it's just unfortunate and it's sad that the people who haven't caused this mess have to deal with it, and now China is building this chip market where, I think it's the Netherlands and who have this what do you call it? This chip manufacturing firm where they process semiconductors, microchips, and so forth. But Taiwan is actually the leader in that, as I mentioned before. And so all these chips, as we know, they go in everything. Computers, phones, rockets, the whole 9 yards, missiles. So there is a lot. It's a lot that's going on that is inclusive in all the stuff that we see happening today that it's going to make a difference in the way the global economy is going to be shaped and so forth. And so what I'm going to do, we're going to pause for the cause. And as we get some more information together, we're going to come back and we're going to continue. And as I said, you can find us on different other sites where you can visit us, support, share, and make a comment and so forth. So again, until we come back, until the next time, this is Seth Morgan coming to you from Anchor by Spotify, and we'll see you back here again real soon, okay? We'll be coming back to follow up on this. So we hope that you have a great day. Okay, bye-bye.